Now, another question I want to ask you is, do you support the tactic of black bloc to further your goals? I mean,
yes.
Well,
you
black
do.
bloc is a tactic, not a
That's what I said.
group.
A tactic. I said anarchist first, tactic second. Do you support the tactic of black bloc?
I'm part of the black bloc tactic, so yeah, those are all my friends. And the thing about the black bloc tactic is the march that we did last night, the silent vigil, just to prove about police brutality. What we did was, we don't have to speak to each other. We went and we fed the homeless, even though it was against the law. And then we marched to Gaslight Park, and we had 5 minutes of silence for police brutality. It was a speak out. Then we started speaking about police brutality and how it needed to stop. We stopped, was it the road?
Domino's.
At the Domino's. Now, we didn't have to speak to each other. The cops were right in front of us. We kept on moving forward. We didn't want to make a left. We wanted to go straight. Traffic was blocked off. We were there for about 30, 35 minutes standing there, and the cops just finally said, we're going to redirect traffic. They didn't feel us as violent.
What black bloc is, the tactic is defensive, purely defensive. It's to keep people together. We lock arms. If a cop or a group of cops or bikes come in, we are locked arms and we're together so we don't get split up. Because one of their tactics is to split up the group, have some up here and some up there.
They hurt them.
Yeah, and then they group them together and they arrest this group and they arrest this group. But if we're locked arms in black bloc in the same uniform, it shows that we're solidarists and that we're not going to be broken up and that we will stay together.
Now, in this video, I showed you a video of black bloc action in Chicago, correct?
Well, at NATO,
Oh, wow.
at NATO, the black bloc action had to get, because when we black blocked and we crossed that bridge, there was a little problem. We weren't the violent ones. We wanted to stay together, but the cops were chasing us with taser guns.
Okay, in the video that I showed, which will be in this, it will be part of this, the big video that I do. In that, they locked arms, they approached the police, and then they charged the police. I mean, literally, I showed them the video. How did you feel about that?
You know, I don't think it's a good tactic, but I'm also going to say this. How many of the people in this movement are provocateurs coming from a completely different angle?
True.
I mean, there are people, you know, who come talking all kinds of, you know, aggressive, crazy nonsense, self-defeating stuff, and a lot of us haven't even seen them. You know, there are people that conservatives pay, and there are people they're out there on the internet, the faces and whatnot, that are paid to come down and turn these things into a bloodbath, or turn these things into...
For good press.
Well, not just a good press for the conservative cause, good press for the corporate cause. I don't think broken windows, you know, I don't think fire, smoke, that's not going to win anybody over. You know, the middle class does not want riots. The working class does not want riots. And if we profess to represent them, we have to somehow respect their views. Not to say that they have to dictate how we act, because, like you said, we haven't won the argument, and we have to make our point at the same time.
This question I want to ask you is important. I think a couple of you might want to answer it. I don't know how you want to do it, but 1968, radical movement of the SDS, Students for Democratic Society, they did similarly what you're doing. They had realized after years that it wasn't working. So in order for them to change the system, they became the system. They are presently who is in charge now. Will you learn the same lesson that they learned to become more effective, to further your goals? Because they realized that by furthering their goals through this type of action, through black bloc, through protest, didn't do much for them. Once they became part of the political system, they made drastic change.
You need to do a combination of both. I mean, at some point, this movement, you are going to have individuals that do attempt to work from the inside. It's going to be those that are still fighting on the outside to keep them aware and remind them where they came from. And as far as learning from SES and their lessons, we're going to learn from their mistakes. Stuff that they did, we will learn from that. Stuff that where they made mistakes, we're not going to make those same mistakes. We're going to improve upon that.
How about you?
So you said that they're all in government. Yeah, there's
a percentage of them are in government.
There is a percentage of them that they're in government, but there was also a percentage of them that turned into the Weather Underground, which
that is correct.
You can just Google it yourself. I'm not going to explain that. But also, some of them are here. It's an organic movement. What they had, the same as here. It's not like one group is going to do this, you know, they're destined to do this. This is a very organic. We're still growing. We're still very young. You got to remember that 20 years of, almost 20 years throughout the 70s of semi-violent, not true violence, but, you know, blowing buildings up in response to, you know, devilish actions of the government. And then, like you said, some of them joined parties and went into the government. It's all beautiful stuff. It's all results of an oppressive system.
And I think if you want to get down to it, you know, protest worked. We're not going to the whites-only bathroom. You know, we're not going. You know, gay marriage is on the rise. You know, there are a lot of things that are happening because of protest and because of some people who went into the system. You know, there are people here. You know, sometimes they're messed with. They're going to be Democrats. You know, they are. They're going to be the radical fringe. But, you know, there are people in the Democrat. Like Elizabeth Warren, I like the arguments that she makes. I admire what she says, and I think she's very effective at taking on the corporate state. She speaks somewhat bluntly about it. There's room for all of it. You need the protesters to keep people in the system somewhat honest. And right now, at this point, you know, the people who went into the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, what did they become themselves? We have a two-party system that no longer works. They got the same paymasters. They agree on the drug war. They agree on our foreign wars. They agree right now on, you know, our political system that is for pay. You know, so right now a lot of the problems, it's not the fringe and it's not the protesters that are the problem. It is in fact the system itself that is bought and owned that is the problem. So until you can take a system and free it of the bribery, free it of the corruption, to say that people should go into the system, I don't know. It's a really hard question. You know, our country is facing problems that are huge and perhaps devastating to a country. You know, we have no guarantee of being this superpower. I don't think that's going to keep on going because we're not smart enough, we're too corrupt, and we're overextended militarily. Like, you know, like they say, like we're irrational. We're frivolous as a society and a bit silly to think that just because we've always been powerful, a lot of us have grown up in a powerful country, that it just stays that way magically. That's not how it works. Empires crumble.
That and China, Russia, Israel, we're funding them so much, we're putting so much of our resources into them that they're already growing more powerful and more socially available than we are. We're just giving it away. We're turning other people into superpowers. Not that that's bad, but if they're gonna follow their own values of let's be the most powerful in the world, then why waste all our resources and give it to other people?
How do you guys support yourselves to go to all these protests? Do you get funded?
Different groups do help support us. A number of the unions that have supported us in the past actually help in terms of like space for meetings. We do fundraising online. People that actually do support the movement, that they see that things like the NATO, RNC, DNC is important for there to be a presence of someone actually drawing attention to the issues, the concerns that the 99% does have, that there's a reason for us to be here. And they'll actually get together, provide support so that we can get buses. There are people involved in the movement that do have money from one resource or another. Maybe they made money in a certain business at one time. Maybe their current career allows them the freedom to go ahead and, you know, help pay for a day on the bus or 2 days.
So you have a lot of
There's
people.
also other ways of getting here too. You have Everybody's Kitchen, which is a Rainbow family. You have Fat Kids Camp that comes from Oregon. And you have people like, there is a Foods Not Bombs in everywhere. The same as Everybody's Kitchen. And the thing is, they have a media bus. Now, if you show them friendliness, they will give you a ride. Those people, the thing about, like, I'm part of Rainbow. I've been part of Rainbow since I was 3. And the thing about Rainbow is they have just been starting to support the Occupy movement because they were a little iffy on who was in it and what they were actually fighting for. Because Rainbow and the Dead family are all built up of old school protest hippies.